Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, the man on whom Dog the Bounty Hunter is based, my brother Mike.
Yeah, me and Beth, you got to trust your life to Jesus, bro.
Yeah, just like Jesus, bro.
I got hooked on that show at one point.
Well, how could you not? It's about your life. You love hearing about yourself.
I cannot remember why. I remember it was back in college, but that and the people who used to bid on storage places. When I was living in Iowa and I had nobody to talk to and no friends, I just watched that show all the time.
Mike's big into storage wars. He absolutely loves it. It's his thing. Thank you so much for joining us on Royals Weekly. We really appreciate it. We're going to talk about the last week for the Royals this episode. We're also going to talk a little bit about some of the issues facing the team as a whole. We're going to kind of address their three biggest problems, and then we'll preview this week's series against the Yankees and Tigers. I got to remind you, though, get out there and subscribe to that Royals Weekly Substack. I'm not lying here. We are putting out a ton of extra content. We had 2 extra episodes every week for our Substack subscribers. We got an extra written piece where I dug deep into the Royals' issues against fastballs this week. If you want to read about why the offense is struggling a little bit, that's a good read.
I need to go read that.
Subscribing. $5 a month. I found out some interesting stuff with that research.
Yeah.
$5 a month gets you so much extra content. It helps us out a ton. We really appreciate it. It helps us do more. More people subscribe. We wanted to give more content. So make sure you're subscribing, royalsweekly.substack.com. We really appreciate it. Also, make sure you're out there giving us ratings and reviews. When you write us an Apple review or Apple Podcast review, we read it here on the episode. So go ahead and it's your time to shine, okay? Go out there, write that Apple Podcast review. I'd like to read 5 of them next week. I'd love something like that. I'd love to have a contest or something. So make sure you're out there writing those Apple Podcast reviews, giving us 5-star ratings. It really helps us out, and I know you want to help us out because we're just putting out tons of episodes for you, so please do that. We'll start our review of last week with roster news. There was quite a bit of it last week. Probably not good, actually, as a result of the number of injuries. There was a lot of roster news. And so we have some things to talk about here. The week kind of started out with Mark Canha heading to the 10-day injured list with a left.
It's just Canha.
Or Canha. With a left adductor strain. Mike, point to your adductor for the audience who's watching on YouTube.
That is hilarious. Actually, I read about it, and I think they said it was like kind of under your armpit. Is what they.
I thought the adductor is like your butt. It's like on the right butt.
No, that's like your piriformis. Right? I'm pretty sure it's easy. I read a thing from Annie Rogers, and she described it as under his armpit.
Oh, okay.
So I'm guessing it's maybe along here, maybe like along your ribs.
Whatever.
What are the core muscles they talk about that you have none of?
I don't have any of those or any of the other types of muscles. Okay, and so that's okay. I understand Canha. He's in good shape. He's got adductors to work with, and so but he went to the 10-day IL. Drew Waters was brought up to sort of take his place. Mike,
oh, you know what? I'm mixing it up. I'm mixing it up. That's your right Terry's major strain.
Okay,
that's the one we're going to talk about with Hunter Harvey. But the big thing here, it's kind of, and I said this, like sneaky crushing move here, like. Say what you will about Mark Canha. He's not going to blow up the stat sheet or anything, but you know what he gives you? A chance every time he goes up to the plate. He gives you an opportunity to get a guy on base. Like that's something. He gives you a professional at bat. That's not something you can say about every person that hits in this lineup. And so a little bit of a crushing move there. Now, hopefully it's minor. Hopefully he's not out too long. But we saw today, and I know they won today, they scored 4 runs. They didn't score any the day before that or 2 days before that. And so, yeah, I think when he was I think it was a little underwhelming when we got him for a lot of people because he wasn't a big name in the corner outfield, but he steadies this lineup a little bit, and they need that right now.
Right, and he was basically poised to start getting more playing time in the outfield because of the underperformance of MJ Melendez and Hunter Renfroe, and then all of a sudden he's out now, and you need that professional at bat. You need that because your offense is struggling so bad right now. You need somebody who's going to go up there and give you a good plate appearance, maybe get on base, or has a better chance than some of getting on base. I think that hurt more. Him going out hurt more than people realized, and getting him back will, I think, help a little bit more than people realize because then you have another at-bat you can count on being of high quality in that lineup. If nothing else, we'll milk some pitches from a pitcher or, help get some of these guys out of here. We faced, guys who are going real deep into games because the Royals are, not at all taxing any sort of starting pitcher right now. And so, we need to see those guys who are going to put professional at-bats together in the lineup as much as possible. Can't wait till we get Mark Canha back.
If you need evidence of that, just go back to that game that Luis Ortiz started against the Royals for Cleveland. That guy has a mediocre stuff at best. He's got a fastball that goes mid 90s, but the numbers on it are terrible. The metrics for the pitch metrics and the batted ball outcomes are terrible. And he's throwing them by us like he's Nolan Ryan.
It was that start that got me to look into the Royals issue against fastballs, because I'm watching the broadcast, and he's leaving a lot of fastballs middle that the Royals are doing absolutely nothing with. And I'm like, what is going on here? The broadcast is talking about him like he's Roger Clemens or something like that. And I'm like, no, he's not. Their offense is just bad right now.
His ERA was over 8 coming into this game.
The induced vertical break on his fastball is like 14 or 13.
Yeah,
it's not very good, right? And so he should not be dominating the Royals offense like that. Just after Cano went out, Hunter Harvey was sent to the 15-day IL with that right teres major strain. Steven Cruz was brought up to replace him. Mike, what are your thoughts on losing Harvey, a guy who looked like he had bounced back to start this year?
Yeah, it's disappointing, and that's the one that Andy Rogers was saying I think was under his armpit there. I read something else that said
yes, it turns out the adductor is on the inside, on the inner thigh. So we were both wrong on that.
Oh, yeah, because they had mentioned that he kind of characterized it as a groin strain, and they were saying, no, it's more of the quad area, the team was. But, yeah, this is tough because he did look like he was doing a lot better, like he'd kind of harnessed the split finger a little bit. The fastball looked like it had the life that we saw at times with the Nationals. And so, yeah, it really sucks because we had a back end built on like a 7, 8, 9 guy. You can kind of shuffle him around and whatever. But Harvey was dominating in his spot there. And the back end has performed so bad. Now you got to slide one of those guys into that spot. Mm-hmm. And that is not a good thing. So we're probably looking at John Schreiber
or Daniel Lynch,
I guess. Daniel Lynch, one of those two pitching in that spot. And that's tough. I don't know if you really want to be there. Do like Cruz, excited for how he started. I think he's looked pretty good with the slider, especially. But yeah, not a good thing to lose Hunter Harvey. Again, though, hopefully that's a more minor thing. I saw something that said the average time on it, though, is pretty high.
Yeah.
Like when you injure this, the average time on the IL is, I think, 80 days or roughly 80 days.
That's a lot. That's a lot of days.
That's not good, but they did say it was a grade 1, a mild strain. So who knows?
Okay. Well, so maybe it'll just be a few weeks. That'd be great. With Cruz, it's all sort of going to come down to command, right? So the guy has big time stuff, big time velocity. He's a big pitcher. And so especially against righties, his cutter slider combination is going to look pretty tough. And so it's all going to be about whether or not he ends up walking people. When he gets in trouble in AAA, it's because his walks are he's just walking the park. And some of that might have to do with what Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove can do for him to ensure that he's getting strike one, to ensure that he's living in the strike zone, what Salvador Perez and Freddie Fermin might be able to do for him stealing strikes here and there, right? Whatever they can do to get Steven Cruz into the strike zone will be better, because at the bottom, if he's your 7th guy out of the bullpen, which he roughly is right now, then you're fine, right? Like you're happy to some degree to have a 7th guy out of the bullpen with his kind of stuff, but you can't have him walking a ton of people. You can't have him throwing a ton of middle stuff. And so it'll sort of all be about command and making sure he stays in the strike zone and doesn't get too wild. But I like Cruz. It is bad for Harvey, but luckily it's early enough in the season. They'll still have time to get him back probably for a second half push or something like that. But man, that's a tough, because he was pitching really, really well to start the season. Another reliever also went on the 15-day IL. That happened today. Sam Long went on the 15-day IL with a left elbow inflammation. That's pretty nondescript. And then Evan Sisk was brought up to replace him. Mike, tell us what your thoughts about Sam Long to the shadow IL. I mean, the actual IL.
The actual IL. Yesterday, I even screenshot it and put it out on Threads. You and I and Eric Oxer of West USA Realty were texting during the game, and I said, as Sam Long is getting shelled and not throwing the ball anywhere near the strike zone, those were his two spots. And I said, how long till he goes on the IL? I said, does it happen tomorrow, or do you think they wait a little bit? Boom, it happened tomorrow.
This is not an era for subtlety.
I will only be called the prophet from now on. From now on, I want to be called the prophet or the oracle. Okay. Get a real Matrix vibe too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But no, something had to happen here. The guy's getting killed. And so, yeah, pull him out, let that inflammation go down. Mm-hmm. And get something going to where he can be a helpful contributor again, because the stuff is there. We like that. The problem is either he can't hit the zone with it at all, or he's leaving it right in the middle, and guys are just crushing the breaking stuff, especially. And so, yeah, that needs to get fixed. Sam Long can't do what he's been doing and stay in this bullpen.
Yeah, and I tell you, the threat of a DFA really makes that elbow inflammation flare up on people, and so uh, I think I'd be in the same position there, Sam Long. No problem with that. And this is how baseball is done. Like the Royals need inventory. It's better to keep Sam Long than get rid of him because if he does get a little bit of rest and his arm just refreshes.
Well, Schreiber came back better last year,
right?
Remember,
it happened for Schreiber. He was terrible there for a while. He got a couple weeks off. He came back and he was a lot better, right? And so in Sam Long's rehab time, they'll have a chance to work with him. They'll have a chance to sort of get a fresher arm maybe than he would have otherwise had. And so, yeah, it's not a bad thing. Hopefully Sam Long feels good. Hopefully it's just 15 days for him, and then he can maybe do some rehab assignments, and they can make decisions from there. But also hopefully Evan Sisk comes up and shows that he's ready to stay healthy and be effective in the major leagues. I mean, if you don't know Evan Sisk, he's a lefty. He's a low arm angle lefty with a lot of funk in his delivery, low 90s fastball, but a lot of movement on various stuff. Very tough against lefties, especially. And so that's the role he will basically play for the Royals, as lefty specialist, to my knowledge anyway. And so we'll see if he can hopefully be effective for them. On the field last week, the Royals made it a winning week. They're going 4-3, which brings their overall record to 8-8. That's good for third in the AL Central. Mike, in the wins and losses, the issues were apparent in all of them. It wasn't like in the wins they all played great, and then in the losses they played terrible. There were flaws throughout, but the boys still managed a decent week. Should we be calming ourselves a bit with the criticism and worry?
Absolutely not. I refuse to. Okay, I refuse to. As a fan or fanatic, as it is short for, I accept the responsibility of freaking out anytime our team isn't playing to the peak of their ability. So yeah, this offense was bad before these injuries started, and the competent guys are now getting hurt, and that's scary. Okay, it's scary to go up there and watch. To watch what some of these guys are doing is just, it doesn't inspire a lot of hope. I don't think Renfroe is going to switch it on and start contributing to this offense. I don't think Melendez is going to switch it on and start contributing to this offense, So yeah, that's what makes runs like this so tough. If you can just say, well, we know these guys are good, or we know that these guys are going to pick it up, but the uncertainty is not great.
There is a lot of research about how uncertainty is like the number one contributor to anxiety. And so when we feel uncertain about something, our anxiety levels spike, right? And that seems to be what happens with the Royals, right? And some of that uncertainty is related to those injuries. So you're right. They were having issues even throughout the Twin Series. They managed to win the Twin Series, and this is why starting pitching is so important, because
nobody was like, pitching. Oh, that offense killed the Twins. Yeah.
Nor were they like, oh, we ran the bases really well. We played defense really well. None of it looked great throughout that, except for the starting pitching. And that's why it's really important to have great starting pitching, because it is the most important element of the game. Now, they also had good relieving when they would bring in like Harvey and Estevez and Ursig and those guys, right? And Lynch and some of the others. But there were still problems, even in a 4-game series where they took 3 of the games and looked like they might sweep for a second. Those problems were still there. And then they go into Cleveland, and those problems look even worse because the offense starts looking even worse, right? And guys are getting hurt. Mark Canha goes down. Jonathan India went down with a little quad injury that probably isn't going to put him on the IL, but he had to sit out today's game. And, you start wondering about different guys as they're getting hurt. And you're like, oh, no, our offense, what are we going to do, And so, yeah, it's okay to feel a little panicked sometimes. You got to remember, though, if they'd asked you at the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to have this super tough schedule to start, and in the first 16 games, you're going to go 8-8. Would you have said, no, I don't want that. That's not good enough?
Well, I think the other thing that contributes to it, though, is now you've now lost 2 series to the Guardians as well. Mm-hmm. Now you took the one from the Twins, which is great. That's why, and I'm going to talk about this in my Mike's Dropped episode this week. That's why I think this Tigers series coming up is just bigger than we want to think it would be. In it's as big as a series can get in April, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the division leader. It's a team that's played well, and you've struggled against one of your other division challengers, one of the teams that you feel like is probably going to be up there. And now you need to it's more of a prove it kind of a thing when we come up against the Tigers coming up here.
Yeah, another 4-game series. This one on the road in Detroit. So hopefully,
at the end of a long road trip,
at the end of a very long stretch of games too. I mean, they've been playing by then they will have been playing for 13 days in a row, and so yeah, that's tough. Mike, it was a winning week, so we had some strong performers out there. Who'd you choose to highlight this week?
Oh, Cole Reagans, man. If you watch that game today on Sunday, oh my gosh. Now, I put this out on Threads too. It's like after he gave up that unearned run, was that the second? I can't remember when it was. But he went on a run of just dominance that you don't see in Major League Baseball very often. Like 3 and 4 pitch strikeouts were like the norm. He's like, okay, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. You're not going to hit the fastball or the changeup. It doesn't matter what I throw up there. He was just killing those guys. And I mean, like Noel looked like shook. What's his name? The guy they kept talking about all his grit, Schneemann. Schneemann looked like he wasn't even a major league player. I mean, this Schneemann. And he just hit
a little league inside the park home run.
Yeah. So look at that guy. But no, that's the thing. Like it was so dominant and so fun to watch. And it was the same thing last time. Like he's got 13.2 innings pitched this week. Okay. This week he went 7 2/3 today, by the way. 8 hits, 2 earned runs, 0 walks to 21 strikeouts in 2 starts.
Incredible.
0 walks to 21 strikeouts. If you go back on the year, he's only got like 1 or 2 walks total. I mean, and they were mentioning like the first, as he's pitching today's game, they're like, oh, he's got the first like the best 3-game start, or second or third best 3-game start in Royals history. And then you go back, you're like, he wasn't all that good in the opening day. Like he was only okay that day. He has been so dominant these last 2 starts. It's been extremely fun to watch. And to know you have that. Talk about certainty. That as long as he doesn't get hurt, you feel like you've got an ace, a stopper, like a boom. We needed him to be huge, and he was huge.
Yeah, and honestly, in today's game, he gives up 1 unearned run and 1 earned run. But there is a scenario where Bobby Witt Jr. makes a good throw from short, and he gives up no runs today because the one errant throw would have gotten the runner if it had been on target, and that also led another run to come in behind it. And so, he was just absolutely dominant today against what isn't a terrible Cleveland lineup. It's been scoring some decent amount of runs this season. And so, yeah, it was great to see them. It's great to know that they have that type of pitcher at the top of their rotation. I'm going with a guy for my strong performer who not infrequently ends up in our week performer list, but has had a hot week this week. That's Kyle Isbell. He went 7 for 19, 1 double, 1 home run, 0 walks and 5 strikeouts. It's very Isbell-esque with the 0 walks and 5 strikeouts. But he had a really good game today. He was hitting the ball the other way a little bit, which was good for him.
Good at bats. Like he went deep in counts today too.
He did, and he was driving the ball a little bit at times. He also legged out an infield hit, which sometimes he does, because his funky swing gives him enough like squibbers and infield things that are kind of just tough to get to for guys sometimes, and so he can beat some of those out to first. And it was great to see him contributing offensively in a week where so many others were not. It's not like I guess they needed every run they could get this week. And so his offensive contributions are all that much more important, especially when he's going to hit 9 like 99% of the time. And so he's going to be in front of Jonathan India, Bobby Witt Jr., the big hitters in the middle of the lineup.
He's your best contributing outfielder right now, Kansas City Royals fans. That guy.
That is
your light hitting center fielder is your number 1 contributing offensive player in the outfield.
Yes. Mike, speaking of outfielders not contributing right now.
Great segue here.
Who is your week performer for this week?
Serve this one right up to you. I gave you that transition.
You served it up to yourself.
I guess, kind of. MJ Melendez is my week performer for the week. I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
I can't watch it anymore. It hurts me to watch it. I mean, I get embarrassed for him at times. I've been told I get what's that called where you feel embarrassment for people on TV or on stage or something.
You're overly sympathetic for them.
Yeah, sympathetic embarrassment or whatever. Empathetic embarrassment. I get that for him when he hits. It's so bad. Now I've liked the step forward. It seems like his defense has taken. It seems like he's more comfortable in the outfield now.
Gun to guy at second today.
He cannot hit major league pitching. He can't hit it. Okay. I sent out a text in that group text the other day, and I said, I put this out on Threads. I don't think I told you this, guys. I sent out the picture of his thing from the MLB app against Cade Smith, reliever for the Guardians. He threw him 6 fastballs. Every single one of them was belt high or higher. He struck out in that at bat. Mm-hmm. Struck out. Like, yeah. Everybody knows what's going to MJ Melendez. Today, he popped out on a Ben Lively 90-mile-an-hour fastball in the upper third. That's the best he can do.
Swung through one in middle at 91 today.
Like, that's the best he can do. A pop out in the infield is the best he can do with a fastball that is belt high or higher.
Mm-hmm. It can't. It's rough.
It's nothing. It's 1 for 19 this week with a double, no walks and 8 strikeouts. He's got 3 hits on the year, people. 3. Oof.
I guess the silver lining is they could still send him down. He has options. He hasn't taken enough service time that he can't be sent down. Like, he can be sent down. And man, I don't see any other alternative. I wrote about this in the Substack today. I don't see an alternative at this point. We're going to talk about this here in a second, but Melendez is he's driving the struggle bus. He built the struggle bus right now because he just can't find a way to get on top of the baseball. And I sent this out on, I think, X today. I was just asking the question, like, if you're the Royals hitting coaches, you have a machine that you can specifically set up to just throw MJ high fastballs. Like, you could do that with the type of pitching machines that they have now. Just throw him high fastballs. Force him to try and hit them. And if he's not doing it to your satisfaction, don't play him. Like, you don't have to play him. Like, right now that his contribution is going to be less than anybody else you could play, then why play him? Yes, send him down and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I would rather just have him face high fastballs warming, like, while he's in batting practice than anything else. Just show me that you can make an adjustment to this pitch. Even if you know it's coming, I don't care. Show me that you can make an adjustment. Because right now he could walk to the plate looking fastball every single pitch, and he's going to still get 4 or 5 of them, at least. You'd be fine with that.
Yeah. I have to assume that's what he's doing at this point. Like, it's all they're throwing. It's all they're throwing. Why would you look for anything different?
Right. If you're the Royals and you're like, well, we take batting practice to prepare our players for what they're going to see, he should only see fastballs then. He should only see fastballs. Right? Like, that's it. That's all you got to do. My week performer this week, Michael Massey, a guy that the Royals are really counting on because they're not getting much from MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe, some of the other bottom hitters in the lineup. Massey just has not come through so far this season and really not at all last week. He was 3 for 22 with 0 extra base hits, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts. He's getting way over aggressive, chasing way too much. Michael Massey, they need him to be a really solid offensive contributor because they were sort of counting on him to be the 5th hitter behind Salvador Perez regularly. But so far he has not produced in ways that they really need him to. And honestly, it's part of this whole, the entire offense has been pressing kind of thing. I mean, Massey had some good plate appearances early in the season where it was looked like he was going to be a little bit more patient as a hitter. That has all gone away now. And anything that leaves the pitcher's hand, he wants to swing at. And so until that changes, I don't see a whole lot of more production come from him.
Yeah, I don't either. And he sees less than 4 pitches per plate appearance. He's super hyper aggressive. That one today where he struck out looking, it was like swinging strike, foul ball, looking strike. 3 pitches, I'll go sit back down.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was embarrassing. It was terrible.
It was rough. Mike, in a week where the Royals did manage to win more games than they lost, what's your theme for this week?
My theme comes from a fantastic song from a band who has just reunited, kind of, to play a small string of shows after they broke up over some great personal differences and hated each other. They're now back together, maybe just for the money, but we'll take it. I don't care either way.
Yeah, make that money.
And that band is Cross Canadian Ragweed, kind of a red dirt country band from the early 2000s. And the song is called Don't Need You. Okay. Here's the line from it. It says, our situation has gone from bad to critical. I think it's time one of us started moving our feet. Okay. That's because this week kind of felt like with the injuries that our situation on offense went from bad to holy crap, what are we going to do? And I'm thinking that because today I had to watch Hunter Renfroe and MJ Melendez start that game and play the whole thing and hit. And it made me be like, sirens going off. This offense is not going to be one that thrives.
Yes, I will say that Vinny Pasquantino seems to have found something offensively, and that helps.
Does a little bit better, yeah.
Has done a little better offensively today, and so If those two
Isbell.
and Salvador Perez hit a home run, if they can start getting things going, maybe they can weather the fact that their corner outfielders are going to give them a nothing. I'm actually going with a line from another little known band out there called Taylor Swift, and
You've heard
it's
of her?
from a classic. I went bowling last night.
She's very niche.
Very niche, very niche. Maybe you haven't heard of her. But I went bowling last night, which is hilarious unto itself. Because why
were you sore today? You were sore today, weren't you?
Of course, I was sore today. I was sore right after bowling last night. But anyway, they were playing. They have like a bunch of screens there, and a lot of the music that was playing was sort of like stuff from the early 2010s and so on. And Taylor Swift's video for "Shake It Off" came on, and this morning I was trying to think like, what's my theme? And it's sort of about how the Royals seems to struggle sometimes to move past the game that they just played or the moment that just happened or something like that, right? Like, why do teams press? Teams press because they can't move past the fact that they failed the day before or the day before that or whatever. They start thinking too much about how they got to do something because there's a problem and so on and so forth. That's not letting go of the past. In baseball, you got to have the shortest memory in the world. And yet we got guys who are pressing a little too much because they got too long of memories. So I have advice for them. And the advice comes from the great philosopher Taylor Swift. The player's going to play. And the hater's going to hate. But I'm just going to shake. Shake it off. Shake it off.
Brava.
Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxer of West USA Realty. Do you have the same fantasy that we do, retiring to a land of eternal summer? If so, you need to call Eric Oxer of West USA Realty pronto. He can help you transition to a lovely home in the Phoenix area and a life of fun in the sun.
I like to put on a giant floppy hat and ask strangers to rub sunscreen on my back when it gets warm.
Yeah, that's his fun in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Eric was one of the top real estate agents in the Phoenix area to end 2024 because he gives all of his clients a personal experience focused entirely on their needs. With Eric Oxer of West USA Realty, it's not about him. It's about you. He's there to listen to you, work for you, and guide you through the ins and outs of buying and selling in the Phoenix area.
He knows where all the cool kids hang out so that you can avoid them.
Yeah, why would you want to hang around them? That sounds awful. Find Eric Oxer at West USA Realty online at ericoxer.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. If you're at all interested in what a life in the Phoenix area might hold, let him make the experience all about you. Let's keep it simple. For this week's Spotlight segment, we're going to consider the 3 biggest problems facing the Royals to open 2025 and provide our solutions. Mike and I are nothing if not problem solvers. We once took a little-known podcast and made it the 4th or 5th biggest Royals podcast.
Very slightly less known.
Yes, very. And so I think we can solve the Royals problems pretty easily here.
Easily.
Mike, let's start with the hardest one. Problem number 1, the corner outfield isn't producing. What is your solution?
Well, let's just say this. I called old Rory McIlroy today after the first 18, and I said, hey, guy, problem solver here. Make a damn putt. And look what happened. He won the Masters.
Look what happened. He won the Masters.
You
think we can't solve problems? Look at that.
I won the Masters today. Okay. The corner outfield isn't producing. It's the anchor that has dragged down our offensive production. MJ Melendez has to go down. That's the solution. You touched on it earlier. He's got to go down, work on whatever you want to work on, try and fix whatever, see if you can get any value out of him, something. I would also get rid of Renfroe, right? Now I know people, okay, well, you can bring him onto the bench when Canna gets back and all. He won't play that much. Why? He doesn't provide any bench value either. Get rid of him. All right. Just let it go. You're not getting the $6.5 million back. Just let him go. Okay. He gives you no value. Even if you're replacing him with someone like a Waters or even a Nelson Cruz or Nelson Velasquez or
how about John Rave? He keeps hitting down in Omaha.
John Rave. Give me John Rave. There's value to a John Rave. There's something. Okay. The speed, the outfield ability, I'll take him. He hits more than Renfroe will too. I mean, yeah. you got to start doing that until you can really lock in something to fix it more permanently via trade if you're actually in this thing. So do as much to squeeze as much value out of those corners as you can. And that means maybe playing Biggio, who hasn't been great, but at least sometimes gets on base. Maybe that means pulling up Harold Castro to do something. I don't know, but you've got to get those guys out of there.
Yeah, my solution is very similar. I would keep Renfroe just because you make him the short side of a rotation of a platoon. He only hits against left-handers, that kind of thing. And then some combination of like Waters, India, Cano, Biggio. But actually, now you've convinced me because Renfroe has no bench value. I would much rather see a John Rave up right now because he's very hot down in AAA than
I would take keep Tyler Tolbert until even when what's his name gets back.
Yeah,
I would even take that. Like
because Blanco as a guy who can hit a little bit will have more value than Renfroe.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to think of it that way, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so some combination of like Waters, India, Cano when he gets back, Biggio, Blanco, Rave. I think I would rather have like a whole gaggle of, role players try and really take that right field and provide some value either on the bases, in the outfield, getting on base occasionally with a walk like Biggio, something like that. I would much rather have something like that than MJ and Renfroe. MJ can be sent down, so send him down. No harm in that. It's tough because he's been a major leaguer for a long time. Maybe he won't take it very well, but hey, guess what?
He sees what he's doing.
I'm not taking your 082 batting average very well.
If I was MJ and they said, "Hey, son, you're going down," I'd say, "Thank God." Yes. Like, what took so long? Get me out of here, man.
Yeah.
Like, he needs a reset, and he needs it bad.
Yeah, he does. And so, yeah, I'll take any of a bunch of those guys over what's taking place in the corners right now. And then, later in the season, Mike mentioned a trade. Maybe one of the prospects who's like Gavin Cross, Jack Caglione finds his way to the major league, something like that. But those guys might have a better chance of holding it down until some reserves can come. Problem number 2: the bottom of the bullpen isn't producing. Mike, what are your thoughts on fixing this problem?
Well, they've started that fix already by ILing Sam Long for a little bit. Of course, it's exacerbated when Harvey goes down. You got to find roles for each one of these guys is the big thing, ones that they can succeed in. I feel like they've done that with Schreiber and the back end guys, but I don't think that they've really found the best place and best way to use Daniel Lynch. I really don't think they've found the best place and the best way to use Zerpa. It'll be very interesting for me to watch Sisk and Cruz come in, because I'd like to see them perform and find some roles where they can be helpful. I think you got to lose Stratton. I don't think there's any value in having him in there. We saw it last year. I know they paid him a little bit of money, but he's not it. I'd much rather give a guy like Sisk, Cruz a long-term opportunity in this bullpen than try and rely on a Chris Stratton when games start to really, really, I don't want to say matter more because they all matter the same. But when the days start to get short, I'd rather not see Stratton in there pitching. Even when we're down a run or two in the 6th or 7th, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm on board with all that basically too. Shadow ILing Long is a good start. DFAing Stratton would be a good step too, and that could open some room on the 40-man for someone like John Rave if you want to bring John Rave on the 40-man or something like that. And then get Jonathan Bolin up here is one of my solutions. Like,
is he doing well? I haven't seen.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's got like a 3, just above 3 ERA down in AAA. He's got good strikeout, good walk numbers, I think. And so, he's doing pretty well. When you DFA Stratton, you could also open up the spot for Jonathan Bolin. And so give him an opportunity, give Cruz an opportunity, give Sisk an opportunity, and then figure something out in the mid innings. Because right now they don't have a great way. Like if the starting pitcher doesn't go 6, or if Estevez and now Harvey's down and Ursig have been too used, have been like back-to-back days, both of them or something like that, they have no answer. I mean, they like the notion that Lynch can go multiple innings, but what's their answer to bridge if they don't have, if they're not in the 7th or if those guys aren't available? They really don't have an answer for how are we going to get to the end of this game, And that's because at that point they're forced to use Stratton, or at that point they were forced to use Long or something like that.
Zerpa hasn't been great either. I mean,
Zerpa hasn't been great, but I trust him a little bit more to get back on track. I think, obviously Stratton is cooked, and Sam Long is just, suffering from elbow inflammation or whatever. I don't know like what's going on with him so much. He has kind of a career trajectory that looks very much like this: one good year, one bad year, one good year, one bad year. And so he had his good year last year. Maybe he's gonna have a bad year this year. I don't know, but I just know that like for Stratton, the game is over basically, and so you got to find some youth, some guys with stuff, some guys with ability to get in there and fill those spots and bridge that gap to those back end guys, because it's weird. Bullpens are weird. You can have good guys, but if the bottom of your bullpen isn't at least competent, then you're going to have blown games, and you don't want any blown games out of your bullpen, right? Like, and so even if you guys are just like, oh, I didn't pitch great today, but I kept us in it still. We got Sam Long coming in with a 3-run lead, which is feasibly surmountable if you got a couple innings, and giving up 5 runs. And it's like, well, now it's an 8-run lead. What are we going to do? Like, the game's over, Problem number 3 is a little less defined, but very obvious and noticeable in my mind. Problem 3, sloppy play. The Royals are just defensive mistakes, base running mistakes, a lot of mistakes all over the place. Mike, what is it going to take to clean up that sloppy play?
Well, I've got a little bit of a hot take here. I'm a big hot take artist. I like to get wild with it. I'll say anything to get a new follower or subscriber. So,
that's the weirdest.
So I think if we improve the offense, I think maybe we clean up the sloppy play. And here's why. It's all psychological in this argument. Okay. I think the fact that the defense and the base running and the kind of bad play, sloppy play kind of stuff has happened, I think it then puts pressure on guys. And when they see that the offense isn't producing, I think if the offense were to produce, we wouldn't really even be talking about sloppy play. We'd be saying, hey, maybe they make it out here and out there, but they're winning games because they're producing offensively. I think a lot of those sloppy plays go away if they feel like they can consistently count on this offense to score runs. And that's kind of my backward hippy dippy way of looking at this, is like, you know what? And maybe it's more of a prioritization thing for me. I think offense, score the offense. We'll deal with the sloppy play when we get there. Who's the team? It's not the Orioles. There's a team out there who is just, it's the Phillies maybe. No, maybe it's not the Phillies. Who's just routinely terrible at defense. They play shit defense all the time.
Yeah, that's Phillies.
It's the Phillies. And they're like, hey, but we don't really care because we hit dongs. We score runs like crazy. And they do very, very well. And so I think I'm worried about the offense. The sloppy play will take care of itself.
Yeah, here's the thing. The Royals aren't built to do that, and they have to
score runs in baseball, then they're going to be in trouble.
No, they're not built to not play good defense. Their pitching staff is sort of revolves around being able to play pretty good defense. And their ballpark sort of you can't hit dongs. And so their ballpark sort of dictates that you run the bases well and other things. Like, they need those little bits of advantage. Last year they were high up in run production, but not high up in offensive production. And a lot of that is because good base running, good situational hitting, stuff like that. If you take that stuff away, then, they're a lot less effective offensively. And so,
so
I think
you're trying to use reason. Did I not explain This is a hot take? Okay.
All right.
This is a hot take. All right. So I'm going to yell a little louder. Maybe you'll understand.
Yeah.
All they got to do is hit more. All right.
Here's my lukewarm take then. Institute a slightly less aggressive base running philosophy. Yeah. But I do think you're right, partially. I do think some of the pressing that we see, I'll point to 2 examples from today. In the first inning, Maikel Garcia hits a single, Bobby Witt Jr. hits a single right behind him, and Maikel Garcia gets thrown out at trying to take third when it was very obvious he should not try to take third. And it was like, it felt like very much he was like, we haven't been scoring much runs. I gotta be like overly aggressive on the bases to make sure we get this run in. And he just ran into an out, right? And then you look at Bobby, maybe this was yesterday, actually. Yeah, this was yesterday. That play where he gets the relay from MJ, or no, maybe that was today. I can't remember. No, it was today. He gets the relay from MJ, which is a really good relay throw from MJ. Turns to throw, and it looks like he thinks he has to turn around and make some amazing throw, some amazing play to get this guy at home, because otherwise, who knows, they're going to lose. And of course, he throws wild and everything goes crazy. And so I do think that's an element of it. But there's also an element, especially to the defensive part, of getting guys comfortable in defensive positions. The defense looks night and day different when Michael Garcia is playing third base and Jonathan India is not. Okay? Jonathan India, not a good third baseman. He's a bad third baseman. In fact, I believe he's already negative 1 outs above average, and we're still early. He's only played like 20, 25 innings of third base, like not very many. And so get guys comfortable in defensive positions. I say put India in left field where he's also not good, but less impactful than third base. And so I think there's an element of just you got to get guys in their best positions, get your best defensive lineup out there at times. Royals Weekly is brought to you by All In Physical Therapy, who are happy to announce that they will soon offer strength and conditioning programs for young athletes starting in June. They'll offer strength and conditioning for athletes who want to gain an edge on the football field, basketball court, or baseball field.
I'm going to try them out for some gains on the old shuffleboard court. Gotta push the biscuit.
Whip the biscuit.
Whip the biscuit. Yes. That's what they call that thing, that little puck, a biscuit.
Yes, the puck is a biscuit. And then the stick is a tang. And
Get of course,
yeah, that's what it's called.
Oh, yeah, it's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, yeah.
Yes. And of course, All In still offers the best recovery from total joint surgeries and sports injuries and things like that with offices in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, and Belton. They'll help you take care of your recently replaced hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, you name it.
I just love that we've reached cyborg technology in our times. I'll take 2 hips, please.
Yeah, we can build
a cyborg hip.
Be a freaking transformer. If you're interested in reaching the peak of your athletic performance or getting back to 100% after an injury, check out All In Physical Therapy at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give them a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. The Royals continue their road trip, heading even further east to face the Bronx Bombers for 3 games before a trip back this way to face the Tigers of Detroit for 4 games. Mike, this Yankees team can really hit the baseball. Tell us what's up with them.
Well, they are the enemy, the evil empire, if you will. Torpedo batting it up and whatnot. The Yankees are 8-7, second in the AL East. Who's first,
Toronto, I think.
Toronto, okay. Just paid a whole bunch of money to Vlad's kid. Okay. That first game, we'll see Seth Lugo versus Carlos Carrasco. Haven't seen him in a bit.
He's still hanging around.
Used to go up against him all the time. He had some really good years with Cleveland. He is 38 years old, out of Venezuela. 7.71 ERA on Carlos Carrasco and a 1.63 whip in 3 games, 2 starts so far. He does not quite have the stuff that he had when he was back in Cleveland. Slider, sinker, which he's always been a heavy slider guy, but sinker in the low 90s, changeup, 4-seamer, curveball, sweeper, some of the worst expected numbers in baseball. Wow. All of his pitches have been hit hard. He's done very, very poorly this year, definitely on the end of his career. So I like the pitching matchup in game 1. Game 2, Michael Wacha versus Max Fried, 31-year-old lefty out of Harvard Westlake High School in California. He's got a 1.56 ERA, a 1.21 whip. Max Fried is a very good pitcher. He was with the Braves last year, I believe. We saw him some point at the end of the year last year, I want to say.
Big free agent signing for the Yankees this offseason.
Yeah, okay. So they did their evil thing. 4-seamer, that's about 93, 94. He loves that fastball, sinker, curveball, sweeper, changeup, cutter, slider. He's a 98th percentile in run value for that fastball. One of the best in the game. His secondaries don't come close to touching that. Not a great matchup for the Royals because, as Mark said, we don't hit the fastball very well. And we saw what Joe Ryan did to us the other day. Not if you're going to bet against the Royals in one of these games, it's probably going to be that game 2 there. Last game will be Chris Bubich versus Clark Schmidt, a 29-year-old righty out of the University of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. 2.85 ERA and a 1.18 whip. He's a cutter guy at 92 or 93 with a sweeper, a sinker, a knuckle curve, a changeup, and a 4-seamer. He's a big mixer. He mixes a lot of his pitches up. Nothing more than 35% of the time. He does better against righties over his career than lefties. So maybe Vinny Pasquantino can have a good day against Clark Schmidt with that short porch in right field.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like with Carrasco and Schmidt both, might be a chance for the lefties in the lineup to get out in front of a few, if you know what I'm saying. And if when they're facing Max Fried, who's a lefty, maybe look to go the other way or something. Because that short porch at right field at Yankee Stadium, Love to get some balls over that one. If you have, might want to think about Michael Massey because he always does damage in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
After the Yankees, they're heading off to Detroit, who is leading the AL Central with a 9-6 record so far. They're jumping out to a good lead. That's because they're hitting and pitching very well both. Their offense has a 122 weighted runs created plus. That's good for third in Major League Baseball. They're getting a big offensive contribution from an offseason signing they had, Gleyber Torres. He's got a 265 weighted runs created plus right now. That's incredible. They're getting a bounce back year from Spencer Torkelson so far.
That's the one I never saw. Did not see that coming.
Yeah, me either. They're also getting good years from Zach McKinstry and Riley Green, a couple of good young hitters that they have. Pitching wise, they got another bounce back season. They got a 3.43 ERA, which is good for 8th in Major League Baseball. But Casey Mize is driving the bus on a lot of that. He's got a 0.77 ERA in 2 or 3 starts. I can't remember which. So he's leading their rotation. Jack Flaherty also doing quite well, 1.62 ERA. Jackson Jobe, their young rookie phenom's got a 3 ERA. Maybe, I don't know if it's the worst ERA in their starting rotation, but it's one of. Tarek Skubal, 3.78 ERA, higher than all those other guys. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
and so it will be a tall task in Detroit. Let's hope they fall into some kind of funk before we get there. We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just a Bit Outside segment where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. Mike loves television, movies, all sorts of different stuff. So hopefully he's got something interesting to tell us. Mike, what's up with you?
Well, I've been watching a lot of my, if you want to call it television, grandpa. Okay, I've been
That's
watching
what it is.
My junk on YouTube. So
your programs.
Take your television and get out of here with your changer. Okay. PBS Terra. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
I assume it's a PBS YouTube channel that, they do like shorter videos. I assume it's an off branch of PBS that we all know and love. But they cover stories that impact the earth. And there are videos that are about anywhere from some of them are like hour long full documentaries, but a lot of them are like 12 to 15 or 18 minutes long. And they tell just interesting stories about the environment and things that people are doing to help the environment and just interesting stuff. So they had this one the other day on the Sahel region of Africa, which is, you want to think of it like the transition between the Sahara Desert in the north and sub-Saharan Africa in like the Serengeti, the grasslands, that sort of stuff. Okay. And they're talking about how the Sahara Desert is creeping south and how this huge impact it's having on the world and on Africa and all this stuff. And then what they're doing to combat it. It was just crazy interesting. Like that some of these very simple solutions can have gigantic impacts on our climate, on the landscape, on the environment as a whole, and then in turn people's lives. And so it's a really interesting program where they're showing some of the good things about what's happening, around the world. And I've just gotten hooked and I'm like watching it, and it branches you off to other PBS kind of channels with these little documentaries on them. And I've just become fascinated by them. Actually, my wife and I just watched one right before I came down. And so, yeah, it's a really interesting thing. If you're a person who likes to watch stuff on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, check out PBS Terra. It's a great little program, as Mark likes to call them, because he's 1,000 years old.
I do like my programs. Yes, that sounds interesting. I will check that out because I love stuff like that. I'm talking about a book that I know you're familiar with because you've told me to read it a couple of times, and I've actually been reading sections of it because I've assigned different chapters of it to a class that I'm teaching. And that book is called Wide Open Town, which is a book about the history of Kansas City, basically, and how it formed and all these sorts of things, an era of it specifically, or some eras of it. If you ever wondered about Kansas City's history, there aren't that many resources that sort of tell a comprehensive history of Kansas City. This is one that isn't comprehensive necessarily, but tells a lot of it and a lot of interesting aspects of it. Mike, you seem like you're shaking your head like you want to chime in.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Like, hey, it's not like the whole survey of Kansas City history. The Kansas City Museum, if you go through that, has some books about that. And if you're looking for like a comprehensive, the history of all of Kansas City, but this one is not that.
But Wide Open Town does have several excellent chapters about different aspects of American history, from, labor organizing in meatpacking plants to, the Pendergast era and sort of political corruption in Kansas City to when it was a river town and sort of first started forming and things like that. There's just a bunch of really great stuff about the history of Kansas City in it. And if you kind of want to get a better perspective on why Kansas City is the way it is now, or what it also gives you a great perspective is how much different Kansas City is now than it was in its time as like a railroad hub and a meat packing industry and all that sort of stuff. It just gives you a little interesting perspective, but you also get a ton of interesting perspective on like why Kansas City is geographically shaped the way it is. Like there's a ton of good stuff about that, about like residential housing and stuff like that. It's really, really good. So if you ever want a good read, a lot of it's written by faculty and staff at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where I teach. So I know people with chapters in it and stuff like that. But if you ever want to like learn more about the community you live in, if you live here in the Kansas City area, Wide Open Town is an excellent book. I highly recommend you check it out. That is all we have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining us here on Royals Weekly. We really appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribing to that Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. You'll get an episode from us on Thursday and then another one on Friday if you do.
Actually, they'll both be on Thursday this week because it's a 4-gamer against Detroit. So,
okay. So
Mike's drop will come out Thursday morning with the midweek episode.
Yes. We'll be getting 2 episodes from us on Thursday. We just love that content. So make sure you're subscribed to that Royals Weekly Substack. Tune in again next week when we let you know more about how the Royals have done. Until then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.